much. In many criminal cases, the court orders an offender to pay a victim some type of restitution, but victims are only getting a small portion of the money.
And that's because the payers are drowning in debt filled with interest and fees. It's yet another barrier for people in recovery from substance abuse. In this Addicted Utah report, Jim Spiewak digs into the restitution system and what changed this month that could actually help.
You're better off owing the mafia than the Office of State Debt Collections.
For anyone who deals with the restitution system, it's no secret it's complex and confusing.
This is why people are going back to prison right here.
Justin Hughes struggled with drugs and alcohol in his teens and 20s. He eventually went to prison on a theft conviction and was ordered to pay his victim $14,999. Since 2015, he's paid $155 a month, but because of interest and fees, today he owes $27,000. The Office of State Debt Collection is also garnishing his wages.
At this point, I have about 75 bucks to get by on each week.
Justin is one of 17,717 accounts that owes restitution right now in Utah.
Good boy.
Sherry Moreno, who is also in recovery from substance use, is another. Her original restitution order was for $118,000, but by the time she got out of prison 6 years later, interest and fees ballooned the debt to $124,000.
I'll never pay it off.
Sherry says people coming out of prison are rarely educated on how the interest and fees can quickly accumulate, and she claims it's difficult to get someone to talk to when looking for answers.
For the last 2 years of my life, I've done everything I possibly could, and my amount was still going up. Like, this is a very hopeless feeling.
Is it a tough system? Is it a tricky system? Is it set up the best way you think it can be?
And that's a really good question. I think it's certainly a challenge to try to collect the amounts owed from this particular population.
Janica Gines is the director of the Division of Finance, which collects restitution and pays out to victims. The restitution begins with a court order, which also determines the interest, which is just above 2% in 2021. Up until July 1st of this year, interest and fees started accruing while people were in prison, not earning an income. But House Bill 260 recently changed that.
I think administratively it makes it easier and more realistic in terms of when we can start collecting, and doesn't penalize individuals that are incarcerated when they couldn't possibly pay back.
The debt office sends collection letters, can garnish tax returns and wages up to 25%. Since 2017, the Office of Collection shows $186 million in total restitution owed.
One of the concerns was the overwhelming burden of fines, fees, restitution, surcharges, and interest.
The Utah Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice issued a report that found legal financial obligations may place a severe burden on people on supervision. The report was recently mentioned to lawmakers in a Judiciary Interim Committee. It issued several recommendations, including imposing training, especially around fines and fees.
Is the system set up for people to fail?
I don't know if the system's set up for people to fail, but it's certainly difficult in many ways.
Richard Morrow sits on the CCJJ and Sentencing Commission. He is also the executive director of the Salt Lake Legal Defender Association. He says many of their clients already face barriers to employment after incarceration, and fees and fines add to that.
They have a tendency to want to give up at that point.
And while Morrow believes HB 260 is a step in the right direction, he would like to see more fees reduced.
I do think that most people want to try to repay their debt, particularly people that have gone through rehabilitation.
Both Sherry and Justin are eager to pay their victims and hope more changes will be made to help them really begin their fresh starts.
Part of my recovery path is I make amends to the public, I make amends to my victims.
It's like everybody is losing in this situation.
Now, Gines told us that each time a payment is made toward restitution, a portion of it goes to the victim, but overall the victim only ends up with 10% of what is owed to them because people can't pay. Interest is also taken out of each payment and then deposited into a special revenue fund at the state. If you'd like more stories and resources, visit the Addicted Utah page. It's KUTV.com. Again, Jim Spiewak covers these stories on a regular basis.